What is going on, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Main Event Review. Thank you very much for tuning in to this week's episode. I am a day late, and you could probably tell from my voice, I am a little bit sick. Here in Australia, we're transitioning into winter, and the flu is going around. I was a lot worse yesterday. I've improved significantly today, hence why I'm on the mic, performing this podcast for you guys and breaking down both main events. We had obviously our normal main event show and Saturday night's main event as well, which we're going to go and obviously review after our first three matches. So again, three matches this week for main event. Some pretty decent matches. We came up with a lot of NXT stars as well, which was really good. And yeah, we'll go through it individually, starting with Matt Cardona taking on Nathan Frazer. A really good match, actually. Nathan Frazer is very athletic and very quick, and he demonstrated that really well in this match. The two had lots of chemistry throughout the time, and Nathan Frazer was actually dominating for most of the match, especially towards the end. But then, unfortunately, there was an attempted backflip screw, which forced Matt Cardona to hit the Rough Rider to get the victory here. And you know what? This is actually a much-needed win for Matt Cardona. Not many people are going to see this and notice it, but on SmackDown, he has not won a match. So him getting a match on main event is probably a good thing. And to be honest, it hasn't been the start that I think Matt Cardona would have wanted coming back to WWE, because I think him being Zack Ryder was more successful than what Matt Cardona has been right now. So I'm not sure whether that's going to change or not, but it doesn't look like it. But this match gives me sort of hope in that way, and it's just good to see Matt Cardona finally get a victory there. I think it was much needed for his confidence. Whether people are going to sort of bring this onto the main show or not, that's if you're watching it, that's if you see it. But it's really good to see that that's going to happen as well. So, a very good win for Matt Cardona there. As for Nathan Frazer, I think he continues to be a tag team partner with Axiom. They're going to Spain next week. Axiom is going to be competing there, so maybe we'll see some good stuff from him, and continue to sort of see these guys develop. Obviously, they're very athletic and they do really good as a tag team. It's just that they're not really doing too much at the moment. But I think patience is a virtue and probably what's important if you're going to sort of categorize these two. Like Nathan Frazer showed me enough to suggest that he'll be a really good star, especially given that he's so athletic and quick. So, that's all we needed to see for me, I guess. And then we had the next match with Nikita Lyons taking on Maxine Dupree. So Nikita Lyons is from LFG, which is that reality show that those guys are trying to get into, like WWE and stuff. Was on Evolve, was on NXT, and now on main event in 1 week. So really impressive stuff from her. I didn't know too much about her. I think she is on the sort of LFG, still like floating around trying to get a main contract, but she demonstrated some really good sort of moves in this match. Again, Maxine Dupree did get the victory with that flying crossbody. But, main event, as mentioned, we always have these type of matches where we get someone like Nikita Lyons come in and showcase what they're all about. And from what I see, really good in the ring. Again, coming from a personality perspective, there's not really much to say or criticize, just because obviously we don't get to see that at the moment. But she seems to be a heel at the moment. That's how she was acting here. Especially throughout the match, just like face mushing Maxine, and also like complaining to the referee as well, and some dirty moves too. But that's what we like to see from new stars, just getting exposed into shows like this, and we just obviously talk about it as well. But for the hardcore wrestling fans, you've seen her in 4 shows, and you guys will know more about it than me, obviously, given that I don't have the full time to watch everything. But this is where I get that opportunity, and she might have a good career, and we'll go back to this match and say, it's the first time I saw her, and I was really impressed. But moving on, we had the final match, which was Javon Evans in his hometown in Greensboro, North Carolina. He managed to face another star from LFG and is currently on NXT, Harlem Lewis. And I think he's another heel as well. Someone that, again, I don't know too much about, but gets that opportunity to sort of showcase his ability. And, did a pretty decent job. Obviously, Javon Evans is always going to win this match and sort of take control, given that he is obviously the young main star. And the pace of the match was really good. Harlem Lewis was obviously the heel again in this situation, so quite a similar sort of story, nullifying sort of Javon Evans' athletic ability by just slowing the match down. And then obviously the match picked up when Javon Evans was getting that momentum, and that's what happened towards the end. He got the momentum and then set up for the OG cutter and got the victory. He was always going to get it in his hometown. Again, I'm really excited for Javon Evans. I think he's going to have a really bright future in the WWE. I think the next goal for him is potentially getting an Intercontinental Championship. Right now, I think Penta's really hot with it. It looks like they're going to have a match together on Raw. I haven't watched it yet, but they're going to be taking each other on Monday Night Raw. I think that's going to be a really, really good match. But Javon Evans is definitely going to be someone that is going to have a massive future here. The one thing that I'd love for Javon Evans to have, to be honest, the only backlash I would have, and it's not really his fault, it's more of a creative issue, is him having like a pretty decent storyline. Like since he's come on, we were close to having that storyline with Kofi Kingston, a bit of a tease as to, Kofi Kingston looking up to Javon Evans, wanting to be his mentor. But it didn't go anywhere because obviously Kofi Kingston left the business. So can creative just put Javon Evans in a storyline that will mean something, like a program that we can sort of, get more sort of look on his personal sort of character rather than him in the ring? Because, everyone loves his bubbliness and his performance in the ring, but we don't really know who Javon Evans is or who he's trying to be and what his missions are, or who's trying to take away his missions and who's giving him a hard time. You know what I mean? You know what I'm getting at. You get my drift. So that's the one thing I'd love to see. Maybe that might happen with Penta. I don't know. I doubt that he's going to do anything crazy, turn heel or anything, but a nice storyline would be great. That's all I'm asking for. And, Money in the Bank is coming up. I expect him to be definitely in that match, given that he is a high flyer. So maybe even just hyping him up for that could be the next best thing. But again, I'm looking forward to sort of seeing, obviously, what Javon Evans does in the future. And, we'll continue to obviously follow him as he's very fresh, new, still 21, and is going to be, unbelievable, I think, going forward, especially with the plethora of stars that we're getting as well. But you know what? That pretty much concludes the main event show as we get on to Saturday night's main event. And while we're here, we could probably do Clash in Italy review as well, because that's also next week. So, you're getting 3 different things today. But we'll start off with Saturday night's main event and the first match between Ethan Page and Penta. And look, I expected Penta to get the victory, and I wasn't surprised. The thing I was surprised about, it was a relatively clean victory. I'm not sure what that does for Ethan Page, but I think it shouldn't affect him too much, given that obviously he's new, he's also upcoming. So, that's exciting in itself. And, Penta has been doing really well off the title, so I don't think he should have lost the title this early. So him getting retaining the title was probably the right move. It was a really good back and forth match. It went for about 14 minutes and, was quite solid. The way that obviously Penta won was through the Mexican Destroyer. And, that makes obviously complete sense. That's his finisher. I'm glad that they used the Mexican Destroyer over the Penta Driver. I think it is a much better, move and a much better finisher than what he had before. We also had Jade Cargill, Michin, and B-Fab, who defeated Rhea Ripley, Charlotte Flair, and Alexa Bliss. I did expect Jade Cargill to win this match with her group. I didn't expect her to pin Rhea Ripley. That was a massive surprise. That was a statement, I would say. Obviously, that came from, Rhea Ripley avoiding the kick, Jade Cargill attacking her, getting distracted. They looked like they were working together. They were being friendly. And as that happened, that pretty much caused Jade Cargill to come in and just ruin that sort of friendship and hit the Jaded on Rhea Ripley to pin her. So, that is really good. I'll save my prediction for Clash in Italy, but obviously I think pinning Rhea Ripley, the main reason for that was to make Jade Cargill look strong and make it look as though that, Jade Cargill has a genuine chance of winning the title. I think that was the only reason why that happened. But you know who it's a big victory for? B-Fab and Michin, who get on a card that is, it's not a PLE, but it's probably the next best thing. And, they get a victory, which is really good for them. It makes them their faction look a bit stronger. And, it's something that I think will give them really good momentum, you'd think. Because, they haven't had a big victory like that before. I think it might be the biggest victory of Michin and B-Fab's career. If you look at it, they beat Charlotte Flair, Rhea Ripley, and Alexa Bliss. That's pretty massive, if you really think about it. So, fair play to them for doing that. And, Jade Cargill looking strong here probably was the right call. And then we had Sol Ruka getting disqualified here. And this was basically to mention that, this match is not big enough for this stage. They want to make it bigger and do it on Clash in Italy. So, that got set up there. Obviously, Sol Ruka went for the Snow Snatcher, and Becky Lynch pushed Jessica Carr in there to hit the Snatcher and get disqualified. So that continues on. The ongoing beef between Becky Lynch and Jessica Carr. I like what they're doing there, but I'm sort of waiting for, a payoff from Jessica. I think she owes Becky Lynch a receipt here. So I don't know what's going to happen there, but we're just going to have to look for that because I think that's overdue. And then we had Paige and Brie Bella defeating the Irresistible Forces. You had Brie Bella supporting Paige with the pin on, I think it was Lash Legend, which I'm surprised that Nia Jax didn't take the pin, but they steal a victory there. It went for about 8 minutes and 25 seconds. Look, the match was good. I am starting to sort of think that Lash Legend should be a single star. Because if they're not winning titles, like what's the point of Lash Legend and Nia Jax being together? And then Paige and Brie Bella winning is great, but I'm not really a fan of this nostalgia act, to be fair. I'd rather see Paige just go on a single run, potentially hash a feud with AJ Lee, or just go against some different stars, because I think that would be pretty cool to see. But otherwise, they are still the women's tag team champions, and they'll continue to sort of retain that. And the division is pretty stable at the moment, which is a good thing. That's something that I think was a struggle a little over a year ago, and I feel like the team that actually saved it was Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. So, they're not obviously involved in this match; they're involved in the card. But credit to them for making the women's tag team division somewhat relevant. And then we end it with the Vision defeating the Street Profits there. 16 minutes and 30 seconds. We had Bron Breakker coming out, attempting to, spear the Street Profits. But Angelo Dawkins threw him over the table. There was a bit of a distraction going into the ring where Logan Paul used his brass knuckles. And it's good to see the brass knuckles come out. We've always been teased it, but we finally saw them being used in a match and actually influencing what happened. And it led to, Logan Paul punching Montez Ford. Angelo Dawkins did sort of attack him, but jumped into the ring, was too late, and Austin Theory pinned the Street Profits and got the victory there, retaining the titles. I think that was also the right decision as well. But the main thing was to show Bron Breakker's strength. Like, he was obviously really, really upset, and he pretty much just speared the shit out of both of them. So, Bron Breakker looking strong here, especially coming off a big win. Obviously, Seth Rollins will definitely have something to say after that. I'm not sure if they are going to be getting a match here. It doesn't look like they are on Clash in Italy, but they will definitely be, fighting up against each other for sure. Whether that is going to be the 6th match, they make that at WWE's on Raw, we'll find out, I guess, tomorrow as well. But pretty much that wraps up the Saturday night's main event. It was a pretty decent main event. It wasn't the best one that's come out, I think, but if you're doing matches like this, I do like it, but I also don't like that it's so close to the next PLE. It just sort of takes the fun away from just us looking forward to the next one. So, yeah, I think the next one's going to be in July somewhere at Madison Square Garden. I hope that one will be a lot better, given that it is there. But, yeah, this was probably, I think since the main events that have come out, I think this would have to be the worst one that has come, I must admit. But otherwise, it was decent. It's what it needed to be, and obviously they don't want to make it too good because Clash in Italy is coming up, which is what we're going to talk about next. So we have the 5 matches confirmed. Maybe a 6th or 7th will come. We don't know. I assume it's just going to be these 5. I don't see why there wouldn't be a need for another, but, who knows. But it starts with Cody Rhodes taking on Gunther. I predict that Cody Rhodes is going to win this one. I don't know what will happen, but it seems to me that it will be a decently fair match, I guess. So maybe Gunther loses and Cody Rhodes gets the victory here. And then we've got Rhea Ripley and Jade Cargill. I expect Rhea Ripley also to win this. I'm not going to be surprised about Jade Cargill winning. It would be nice to see, but I just don't see Rhea dropping the title so quick. I just don't see it making sense, to be honest, there. And then you've got Roman Reigns taking on Jacob Fatu. Roman Reigns is going to win this one. It's a tribal combat match. I expect Roman Reigns to win this. I don't think they're going to give it to Jacob Fatu. He's not ready yet. I am more keen to see what happens after this rather than the match itself, to be honest. The match will be great. But we've already seen these two go at it against each other. So maybe tribal combat will be a bit more sort of brutal, especially given that it's no DQ. In terms of interferences, let's see what happens. The Usos might get involved. Who knows? But, something to look forward to. I think this match will be really good. And, Jacob Fatu continues to get that exposure as well. And then we've got Becky Lynch taking on Sol Ruca. Look, I'm going to say Becky Lynch retains. I don't think AJ Lee comes all the way to Italy to screw her over. So for that alone, I would say Becky Lynch retains. I don't see her dropping the belt, but you never know. Sol Ruca could win. I wouldn't be surprised about it. Just given that, Becky Lynch, I think, has just elevated the belt so well, and Sol Ruca is probably the right person to have it on. I think Becky Lynch is too big for it. But otherwise, I think still it would make sense, for Becky Lynch to win, given that, obviously she's still won it as well. But look, there's 4 title matches. Do they all retain? You know what I mean? There has to be one title change, no? You'd think, right? But I'm gonna stick to them retaining, because I don't think you drop a title so quick. But if I was to choose any of the 4 that would have a title change, it would be the Sol Ruca one. I think Sol Ruca would be the champion. The rest would retain, but Sol Ruca would have the best chance. Maybe Gunther next, but definitely I think Becky Lynch or Sol Ruca, that could be a title change. But I'm going to stick with Becky Lynch. And then finally, we have Obafemi taking on Brock Lesnar. So obviously Brock Lesnar hasn't retired. So I think that Brock Lesnar will win. And the reason why I think Brock Lesnar will win is because we're going to get a third match here. I think, they're going to make this, hype this as much as they can. I don't think Brock Lesnar comes back out of retirement just to lose to Obafemi straight away. I think that we're going to see a third match between these two eventually. And then that will lead to Brock Lesnar potentially taking on Gunther in the future. I'm glad that Brock Lesnar's back, because I feel as though that, Obafemi wasn't really actually doing anything significant. Let's be real. So the fact that, he has an opportunity here to, rectify what happened at WrestleMania, it's a good chance. And then, like I said, he beats him, we might get a third match here, and that's probably more exciting, if I'm honest. So, that pretty much wraps up the review for today. We had the main event review, we had the Saturday night's main event review, and we also had the Clash in Italy preview there. So 3 things to speak about, and one thing to also look forward to this week, Clash in Italy. So I'll be back next week to review that as well. And always review the 3 main event matches too. AAA I've had a bit of a look into. To be honest, I haven't had the chance to really watch what's going on, but I'm definitely going to be looking forward to the mask versus mask match. The stuff that's happening with Kaiser in terms of being arrested and stuff, I hope that doesn't affect the match and gives him the opportunity to drop it. I know it's very unfortunate, but, he's done a really good job with that character, despite what's happened off the ring. Even though it's not right, you want to kind of give leeway for this and, continue the run. And then it's also been announced that I think Rey Mysterio is going to be the general manager of AAA. So that's pretty good too. So we're going to see more of Rey Mysterio in a corporate position. And I think that's the right place for him to do it, especially in a country that he's a native of and also speaks the language. I was born here, but he's of Mexican descent. So that's pretty cool as well. So I really do like AAA and what they're doing. So maybe I'll, try my best to continue to watch what's going on there. But otherwise, we'll continue to just review everything and go from there. But anyways, it's, again, been another episode. Thank you very much for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys next week. Cheers.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.